Good evening, my friends. Welcome to Evening Reflection for Friday, December 18, 2020. I trust you have had a beautiful day and you are now ready to absorb the gems of wisdom from Pastor Rick Warren's book, The Purpose Driven Life.
About my purpose point to ponder, living on purpose is the path to peace. Verse to remember, you, Lord, give perfect peace to those who keep their purpose firm and put their trust in you. Isaiah 26:3, TEV. Question to consider, what would my family and friends say is the driving force of my life? What do I want it to be? This life is not all there is. For made to last forever, God has planted eternity in the human heart. Ecclesiastes 3:11, NLT. Surely God would not have created such a being as man to exist only for a day. No, man was made for immortality. Abraham Lincoln. Life on earth is just the dress rehearsal before the real production. You will spend far more time on the other side of death in eternity than you will here. Earth is the staging area, the preschool, the tryout for your life in eternity. It is the practice workout before the actual game, the warm-up lap before the race begins. This life is preparation for the next. At most, you will live 100 years on earth, but you will spend forever in eternity. Your time on earth is, as Sir Thomas Browne said, but a small parenthesis in eternity. You were made to last forever. The Bible says, God has planted eternity in the human heart. You have an inborn instinct that longs for immortality. This is because God designed you, in His image, to live for eternity. Even though we know everyone eventually dies, death always seems unnatural and unfair. The reason we feel we should live forever is that God wired our brains with that desire. One day your heart will stop beating. That will be the end of your body and your time on earth, but it will not be the end of you. Your earthly body is just a temporary residence for your spirit. The Bible calls your earthly body a tent, but refers to your future body as a house. The Bible says, when this tent we live in our body here on earth is torn down, God will have a house in heaven for us to live in, a home He Himself has made, which will last forever. While life on earth offers many choices, eternity offers only two, heaven or hell. Your relationship to God on earth will determine your relationship to Him in eternity. If you learn to love and trust God's Son, Jesus, you will be invited to spend the rest of eternity with Him. On the other hand, if you reject His love, forgiveness, and salvation, you will spend eternity apart from God forever. C.S. Lewis said, there are two kinds of people. Those who say to God, thy will be done, and those to whom God says, all right then, have it your way. S. Lewis said, there are two kinds of people. Those who say to God, thy will be done, and those to whom God says, all right then, have it your way. Tragically, many people will have to endure eternity without God because they chose to live without Him here on earth. When you fully comprehend that there is more to life than just here and now, and you realize that life is just preparation for eternity, you will begin to live differently. You will start living in light of eternity, and that will color how you handle every relationship, task, and circumstance. Suddenly many activities, goals, and even problems that seemed so important will appear trivial, petty, and unworthy of your attention. The closer you live to God, the smaller everything else appears. This life is preparation for the next. When you live in light of eternity, your values change. You use your time and money more wisely, you place a higher premium on relationships and character instead of fame or wealth or achievements or even fun. Your priorities are reordered. Keeping up with trends, fashions, and popular values just doesn't matter as much anymore. Paul said, I once thought all these things were so very important, but now I consider them worthless because of what Christ has done. If your time on earth were all there is to your life, I would suggest you start living it up immediately. You could forget being good and ethical, and you wouldn't have to worry about any consequences of your actions. You could indulge yourself in total self-centeredness because your actions would have no long-term repercussions, but and this makes all the difference: death is not the end of you. Death is not your termination, but your transition into eternity, so there are eternal consequences to everything you do on earth. Every act of our lives strikes some chord that will vibrate in eternity. The most damaging aspect of contemporary living is short-term thinking. To make the most of your life, you must keep the vision of eternity continually in your mind and the value of it in your heart. There's far more to life than just here and now. Today is the visible tip of the iceberg. Eternity is all the rest you don't see underneath the surface. What is it going to be like in eternity with God? Frankly, the capacity of our brains cannot handle the wonder and greatness of heaven. It would be like trying to describe the internet to an ant. It's futile. Words have not been invented that could possibly convey the experience of eternity. The Bible says, "No mere man has ever seen, heard or even imagined what wonderful things God has ready for those who love the Lord." However, God has given us glimpses of eternity in His Word.
We've come to the end of another evening inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us. I trust that we have been able to provide food for thought, something for you to reflect on as we look at living a purpose-driven life. Have a beautiful, restful night. Bye-bye.